So we all have this situation where you got some time to kill. You want to watch a good movie, but you've seen everything that's out that's new and you don't really know what to watch. And I'm going to help you out here. This is going to be the new series. And what I'm going to do in this video is give you three movies, three trapped in a room thriller suspense movies that you should watch if you're, looking for something good to watch. Welcome to the DL Jones Show. I'm your host, DL Jones. And like I said, I'm going to be running down three movies that I've watched before. I enjoyed them. Now, I'm not going to say that they're all like really highly well-reviewed movies, but they were movies that I watched and enjoyed. They were all suspense thrillers. And most of them followed the same theme of people being trapped in a room, or a building or a house or something like that. Not necessarily in the same room, but they all trapped at a location or confined to a location somehow. And they're all suspense thrillers, not necessarily horror movies, but like suspense thriller movies that kind of make you watch and be wondering what's going to happen next and try to figure out what's going on. To start things off, I'm going to be talking about the first movie I'm going to list here is a movie called Circle. And yes, I know there's a TV series on Netflix called The Circle. That's a reality show. I'm not talking about that. This movie is just specifically called Circle. Now, this movie it stars Allegra Masters, Amy McKay and Ashley Key, which, I have no idea what else they've been in. I've never, the names are not familiar with to me, but it doesn't matter. None of the people that's in this movie I actually, recognize from anything else. And there was a ton of people in this movie. Even though this movie takes place in one room, it was probably about a good 20 people in this movie. But nobody was familiar to me, but it didn't matter. It was just a storyline and trying to figure out what's going to happen next and why this was going on that captured my attention as much as it did. All right, so the basic premise of Circle is you have a group of people, they just all of a sudden kind of wake up in this room, this large room, everything is painted in black, and they're all standing on these little circles on the ground, and they're placed in circles around each other, with like an open space in the middle, and they don't know how they got there. They don't know why they're there. They don't know how they got there, but then after talking for a little while, you find out that this is sort of like a game, of a mysterious voice speaks to them, and what they have to do is they have to talk and get to know each other, and then every 2 minutes the circle have to vote on someone to basically get killed, so they have to go around and talk to each other and try to decide who they think deserves to be the ones that's not going to make it to the next round, which was really interesting because you find out as the movie goes on that everybody was there for a reason. They all did something. They all were in some way bad people, some worse than others. Some did things that was worse than others. And then you had a few people that, seemed like they shouldn't be there, but that was a dilemma. Everybody had to come together and make a decision on who was the one that was going to get killed at the end of the 2 minutes. Now, they did a voting system, which, once you vote, and they don't know who's going to vote one way or another beforehand, even though they tried to organize it a little bit. But it was just pretty interesting how this movie went about, trying to figure out, learning about different people, why they're there, and learning about the decisions that people made on why they picked this person to not move on to the next round and all of that kind of stuff, and to try to figure out who's going to last at the end of the movie. But it was pretty interesting. You got all of these strangers in this room. They don't know how they got there, but they all got these weird background stories that you find out about as the movie go on. And it was just a lot of suspense and stuff. You find yourself while you're watching this movie rooting for certain people, to make it to the next round and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a movie you should try out. I think it's on Netflix. That's what I watched it on. It was released in, let me look here, 2015. Not that bad. It's not the oldest movie on my list, but it came out in 2015. I watched it early last year, for the first time. I think it was released on Netflix early last year for the first time. I don't know if it had always been up there and I just noticed it at that point, but and it may still be on Netflix. I'm going to check after I record this, and if it is, I'll link it up in the description in the description below. But that's my first suggestion. If you're looking for something to watch, try this. Well, not The Circle, but just Circle, no the. Try Circle. Suspense thriller. It's pretty interesting. A bunch of people in the room. You're trying to figure out who's going to die next, you know. All right, before we get to the second movie on my list, I want to remind you, if you like videos like this, you like talking about movie reviews, things to watch, story topics, anything dealing with movies and TV shows, any kind of talk like that, make sure you click the subscribe button and click like. Give me a thumbs up, you know, and I just want to remind you to do that right quick because, you know, I like making videos and, you know, so you can find me next time you looking for videos like that. Okay, so the next movie on my list, this is the oldest one that I have out of the three options that I'm giving you in this video. This one came out in 2009. The name of the movie is Exam. And it's the same type of movie, a trapped in a room type of movie. Now, this particular movie, it has like about 8 or 9 people that's trapped in a room this time. There's a few more in the movie besides those 8, but basically you have these 8 people that show up at this company that's supposed to be for a job interview. They don't know what the job is. They don't know anything about the job interview. They just show up, and then as they talk to each other, you find out that each one of those people have certain types of skills, like sort of like covert, you know, military and spy. They got skills like that, you know, but they don't, some of them know each other and most of them don't, but you have 8 people in the room and they're there for what they call an exam. Now they're trapped in a room, they can't leave, and is being guarded by an armed guard. So you have these people in the room and they are given these tasks, and the tasks are similar to riddles. They're more like things that they tell them, and they have to work together or try to work alone to try to solve these riddles and solve these tasks, you know. And if you get a question wrong, you get escorted out of the room. You don't know what happens to you when you leave the room, but you get escorted out of the room. So the little quiz that they have is a pretty simple quiz. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a pretty simple quiz, but it's not enough information. They're just forced to be in this room and try to solve this quiz. This little riddle or test that they have to give, you know. And the thing about it is that, you know, even though the people, if they lose, they just gets escorted out of the room, it still becomes to a point where there is a lot of tension, a lot of suspense, and some deaths and stuff too. You know, it's not, you know, there's the exam itself doesn't consist of anyone dying, but things get so crazy in this throughout the course of this movie that there are some people that get killed and stuff like that. But it's a pretty interesting movie because while you're watching the movie, you're trying to figure out the riddles along with the people on the screen, and you're trying to, and you know, the people on the screen, they get to where they're starting to double cross each other and play tricks and mind games and all kinds of stuff. And it's just pretty interesting and pretty suspenseful, trying to figure out what's going to happen and why it is. You know, they don't give you a lot of information about the exam or the job that they're there for. You're wondering what it is throughout the whole movie, but it was pretty interesting. You know, it held my attention for like, I think it's a pretty short movie, like about 80 or 90 minutes, about an hour and 20 minutes or an hour, 25 minutes, something like that. But it was pretty interesting. The name of this movie was Exam, and it stars about 8 different people. The main person in this movie that I recognize is Gemma Chan, who, you know, if you've been keeping up with the new Marvel Eternals movie, she's playing Cersei in that movie. But that's the main recognizable person that I've seen in this movie. But that's Exam. It was pretty good. I would suggest if you're looking for something to watch, check that out. All right, so for number 3, my third recommendation for trapped in the room thriller suspense movies is this little movie that goes by the name of Coherence. When I watched this movie, I had no idea what it was about. I just was reading through the Reddit forums, and somebody was like, if you like this type of movie, you know, check out this. And Coherence was one of those movies, and I checked it out. The first thing that kind of caught my attention, that kind of made me interested in wanting to check it out, is that I noticed that one of the stars was Nicholas Brendan. If you know who he is, he played, I forgot the character's name, but he was one of the main characters in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I hadn't seen him in anything since Buffy the Vampire Slayer that I can remember. So I was like, oh, he's in this movie. I wonder what, you know, how he's going to do, you know. So I watched this movie. I enjoyed it. It's one of those really weird movies that keep you kind of also looking, trying to wonder what's going to happen next. So basically what happens in this movie is that a group of friends is at this house, and They're there for like a little dinner party or get together or something like that. And then there's a weird thunderstorm, a weird thunderstorm going on outside. You don't really pay a lot of attention to the thunderstorm. But after that thunderstorm, something spooky really happens. Now, this movie kind of gets more into supernatural. The first two that I brought up, is more like, more based in reality, but this movie kind of gets into supernatural because they get to a point to where, they find themselves not being able to leave. They can leave the house, but they not be able to leave the neighborhood or anything like that. And then they notice down the street from them, there is a house exactly like theirs, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Just know that there's some weird, trippy stuff that happens once they notice that house and the movie, goes on. And it's better if you just watch it. Just know that, it is crazy. That thunderstorm caused some crazy stuff to go on. And there's a lot of things that happen, they can't leave, and it's not in the same fashion as the first two movies that I brought up, but they can't leave, or when they try to leave, they end up back in the same place, but it's a weird movie, and it's like weird, crazy stuff, going on in this movie. But yeah, the name of this movie is Coherence. It's more of kind of like a sci-fi supernatural suspense thriller, and it's pretty good. So check that out. This movie came out in 2013. Not as old as Exam, but not as new. Actually, it's the newest movie on my list because I think, no, it's the middle of the road because the first one, Circle, was 2015. This is 2013. And Exam was 2009, which is the oldest movie. But check this out. There's three movies that if you're looking for something to watch and you like those suspense thrillers, you want to watch some movies where people trapped in a room, check them out. It's Coherence, Exam, and Circle. And I'll put links to those, whether they're on Amazon Prime or Netflix or whatever. I'll put something in the show notes in the description so you can check those out. And if you do watch them or you have watched them, let me know what you think about it. What you think about those movies, All right, so I hope my movie suggestions will help you out. One night when you're looking for something to watch, you can check out one of these three movies or watch all three of them. They're all pretty good watches. And I want to thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. While you're here, why don't you check out that video right there? Or maybe that one right there. And while you're at it, go ahead and click that little picture of my image there and subscribe to my channel.